Have you ever really thought about how the universe began? Like, what was the actual spark? You
Right.
know,
Mm.
today we're going deep on this thing called quantum genesis. I
Okay.
got these notes, right, from this ChatGPT conversation. And they suggest that, get this, maybe quantum information, not just matter or energy, was like the fundamental building block of everything.
Wow. So not the Big Bang, but like a big bit.
Right. So let's unpack this.
Okay, yeah. I mean, usually we think about information as something that like describes physical stuff that's already there.
Right. The stuff's first, then we label it.
But what if, and this is where it gets really wild, what if information like came first?
Whoa.
Yeah, and it acted like the blueprint, and the universe just like emerged from that.
Okay, so instead of the universe being like a clock, it's more like a computer.
Exactly. Processing information to shape reality.
And these notes, they also say space-time, the fabric of the universe. It's
Yeah.
not just sitting there.
No, it's like constantly being molded and like influenced by all this underlying quantum information.
Wow. Okay, so if space-time is like that, dynamic, how does that mess with gravity?
Well, think of it this way. Space-time is like a landscape, okay?
Yeah.
And this landscape is always shifting, changing based on the information it has.
Okay.
So gravity, maybe it's not a fundamental force.
What?
Yeah, it could be like an emergent property, coming from the interplay of that information and the ever-evolving space-time
So gravity is like a side effect.
of how information shapes the universe.
Yeah. Okay, my mind is a little blown. But how do we go from this, sea of information to actual stuff?
Yeah.
Like galaxies and stars.
Well, the notes talk about this process of emergence.
Emergence.
As all this quantum information interact, you see, evolves, it makes these structures, but more and more complex over time.
Okay.
Like quantum singularity.
Black holes.
Black holes. Those things are wild. They're like the ultimate information paradox.
Yeah, definitely warp space and time.
So the notes highlight this equation called the Buchenstein-Hawking entropy equation. It's a mouthful.
I'll take your word for it.
But basically what it says is a black hole's entropy, how much disorder it has, is directly linked to the area of its event horizon.
Wait, so information about everything that goes into a black hole, it's encoded on its surface.
That's the idea, yeah. Like it's all smeared across the event horizon, like stored on, I don't know, a cosmic hard drive.
Wow.
And this connection between information and entropy, that's key to understanding how this quantum information might have shaped the early universe.
So black holes are like cosmic libraries.
Maybe, but remember, we're talking about a universe where space-time itself is like molded by information.
Right.
So black holes, these intense concentrations of information, they'd have a huge effect on the fabric of space-time.
I can imagine, yeah.
Imagine them in the early universe, warping everything, pulling in matter, maybe even acting like seeds for galaxies.
Galaxies swirling into existence around these supermassive black holes. Wild. But what about forces? The fundamental ones, where do they fit in?
Well, the notes specifically mention magnetism,
Okay.
that force that keeps your fridge magnets up.
Yeah, I use it every day.
Maybe it's not actually fundamental.
Okay.
Instead, it could be an emergent property, a result of like how quantum information interacts with space-time, you see.
Magnetism comes from information. That's mind-blowing.
It really is. If something we experience every day can come from this deeper level, who knows what else might have emerged the same way.
Okay, my head is spinning. So we've got black holes maybe making galaxies, magnetism from this quantum information dance. But how do we get to atoms, the building blocks?
That's where things get really interesting, this idea of bootstrapping. Imagine the universe is cooling, expanding.
Okay.
And in all this, specific combos of quantum information start to condense.
Like a cosmic recipe.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But instead of ingredients, you have bits of quantum information.
And these condensations make particles.
Quarks, protons, neutrons, the building blocks.
It's like information itself is the blueprint for creating particles.
Yeah. And once you have them, they start interacting, combining, following the laws of physics.
Okay.
And those interactions, eventually, they lead to atoms.
Atoms.
Right. The arrangement of these particles, based on their quantum stuff, governs the structure of atoms and those interactions. They're ruled by quantum mechanics, which is all about information and probability.
So we see a progression. Quantum information to particles to atoms. But how do we get to stars and galaxies? Where does gravity fit back in?
That's the next stage of our exploration. We've seen how quantum information may have seeded the universe with its basic building blocks. But how does it orchestrate the grand symphony of cosmic structures? We'll delve into that in part 2. We were talking about atoms, right? Forming from this, quantum soup.
Right, yeah, like the universe's basic ingredients.
So if this quantum genesis idea is right, I mean really right,
Yeah.
then life, how it emerged, takes on a whole new meaning.
Okay, how so?
It's not just that molecules got complex, right? It's that information itself like evolved into something totally amazing.
Okay.
It's like the universe isn't just this computer, but it's like a programmer too, always writing new code.
That's wild. But how do we go from, like, simple atoms to a cell? That's complex.
Yeah, so the notes, they don't get deep into a biogenesis, how life actually started,
Right.
but they hint that maybe, just maybe, this quantum information had a hand in it.
A guiding hand.
Yeah, like imagine early Earth, right? All this chaos, chemicals, energy,
Yeah, I can picture it.
and then some molecules, just by chance, and following these quantum rules,
Uh-huh.
they start to copy themselves
Really?
and become like the ancestors of DNA, RNA, the stuff that carries the code of life.
So life wasn't just an accident.
More like information, following quantum rules, made it possible. And then, as life gets going, evolving, it gets better at handling information.
I see, yeah.
Look at a single cell, all the communication networks inside, or a whole ecosystem. Information processing on a huge scale.
So it's the same principles from the universe's start, but now in every living thing.
And get this, the notes even touch on consciousness.
Okay.
Like, maybe that's information processing, but at the highest level we know,
Whoa, it's deep.
biological systems evolve, right? They interact with information in more and more complex ways. So maybe what we feel as consciousness, our thoughts, that's the peak of that whole process.
So consciousness is a side effect of information.
It's a big idea for sure. But if information is the base of everything, it makes sense, right? Our brains, they're networks of neurons firing, sending signals.
Yeah.
And those signals, they're basically information packets.
So my consciousness, it's a pattern in all the information processing happening up here.
Exactly. Like your brain is decoding the universe's information and experiencing that process.
I like that. But this also makes me think about AI, artificial intelligence.
Right. If consciousness comes from information, could we make machines that are conscious too?
It's exciting and scary at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, what does it even mean to be conscious in a universe built on information?
Big questions.
The notes don't have easy answers, but they stress that we gotta understand information's role, not just for the physical universe, but for consciousness too.
So if the universe is always evolving, processing information to get more complex, where's the end?
People have wondered that forever. The notes don't say for sure, but they suggest maybe the universe is trying to understand itself. Always looking for new complexity, more information processing.
And we're part of that.
We are. But this deep dive, it makes me wonder, what if there's more? More than we can see right now.
You wake what?
What if there's realms of information totally beyond us, not bound by the physics we know?
A cosmic internet.
It's a wild thought. But it means the universe is way more complex and mysterious than we get. But instead of being scared, maybe we should be excited by all the possibilities.
Yeah, that's a good point. But this deep dive, it started with the universe's beginning, then life, consciousness, now maybe cosmic internet. It's a lot.
It is, but let's bring it back down to Earth for a sec.
Okay.
If information is fundamental, like really, really fundamental, what does that mean for us, practically? How can we use this knowledge for our future?
That's the question, right?
Yeah, and that leads us to the last part of our exploration. We've seen how big information is on the cosmic scale. But how can we use its power here on Earth? We'll explore that in part 3.
So we're back, diving deep into this quantum genesis idea. We've gone from the universe's start to life, consciousness, even a cosmic internet maybe. But in this last part, let's get personal.
Yeah.
If information is running the whole show, what's that mean for us, like as people?
It really changes how we see things, and we think of ourselves as separate, watching the universe.
Right, like we're outside looking in.
But if we're all information, all connected in this web,
Yeah.
it's blurry then who's watching who. It's deeper than we usually think.
Like we're not just watching, we're part of the universe evolving with the information we make and share. But then that's a lot of responsibility, huh? How do we make sure the information we put out there is good?
That's huge, especially now, right? Information is everywhere so fast. Think about social media.
Oh, yeah.
What we share online, it goes out there, changes how people think, what they do. Sometimes we don't even know how much.
So understanding information, it means understanding that responsibility too.
Exactly. It's like we're all writing this big story, the universe's story, together. And what we choose to talk about, to ignore, it affects how that story goes.
But this whole information-based universe, it makes me think about big stuff, like what's our purpose then? What's meaning?
It means meaning isn't just there waiting for us. We make it through how we interact with information.
Okay.
Each of us, we're like a point in this network, right? Taking in information, understanding it our own way, then putting our own view back out.
So we don't have to look for meaning somewhere else.
Maybe the purpose is to deal with the information around us. Make sense of it. Make something new with it, something that matters.
It's like we're all playing music together.
Yeah. A big cosmic symphony. We each have our own tune, adding to the whole thing. And there's no wrong way to play. It's about exploring, trying things out, finding your own voice and all that.
Man, this has been quite the journey. Universe's birth, life, consciousness, now this deep meaning stuff. If we had to say one thing people should take away from all this, what would it be?
I think it's simple, but important. Information is power. It makes our reality, how we see ourselves, our place in the whole universe. The more we get information, the better we can handle life, and make a future that's meaningful, purposeful.
So to everyone listening, keep thinking about this quantum information stuff. It's worth it. The universe is full of mysteries, consciousness is a trip, and information itself, well, it might be the key to understanding everything, maybe even ourselves. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.